How to patch drywall holes like a pro. What if I told you that every professional drywall repair you've ever seen follows one secret principle that most DIY ligers never learn? Today I'm going to show you exactly how to make your repairs invisible. Whether you're fixing a small nail hole or dealing with major wall damage, by the end of this video, you'll know techniques that most contractors take years to master. Before we begin, let me show you something interesting. Notice the difference? Throughout this video, I'll reveal exactly why professional repairs look seamless, while DIY attempts often stick out like a sore thumb. Before we pick up any tools, let's understand what we're dealing with. The key to professional quality repairs isn't just in the technique, it starts with properly identifying the damage. In my 20 years of drywall work, I've found that this assessment phase is what separates a lasting repair from one that needs to be redone. Let's look at the 5 most common types of wall damage you'll encounter. First, we have simple nail holes and anchor damage. You might think these are straightforward, but here's what makes them tricky. The paper edges around these holes are often compressed or torn, creating what we call a paper bubble. If you don't address this properly, your patch will develop a noticeable ring around it within months. Second, we have doorknob damage. Those rounded dents that usually have a crushed core. What makes these challenging is that the damage often extends beyond what you can see. The gypsum core behind the paper can be shattered in a radius up to 3 inches larger than the visible hole. That's why quick fix patches often fail in these spots. Third, we encounter what I call busy area damage. Those rough, scraped areas near light switches, corners, and hallways. These are deceptive because while they might look superficial, they've usually weakened the paper face of the drywall. Simply skimming over these spots is asking for trouble. Fourth, we have water damage, which requires special attention. See these brown rings and bubbled texture? This type of damage isn't just cosmetic. It can harbor mold and compromise the structural integrity of your wall. We'll need to approach these differently than dry damage. Fifth, and most challenging, are the large holes. Anything bigger than 6 inches. These require proper backing and structural support. The biggest mistake DIY shellers make here is trying to bridge too large a gap without proper support. Now let me show you why most repairs fail. See these telltale signs? That subtle ridge around the repair? Those slightly different textures? These happen because of 3 critical mistakes. First, rushing the prep work. Professional repairs start with proper surface preparation, which means removing all damaged material and stabilizing the edges. Second, using the wrong material for the job. That spackling paste from the dollar store might look good for a day, but it shrinks and cracks. I'll show you exactly what products I trust and why. Third, skipping crucial steps in the process. Every professional repair follows a specific sequence that allows proper drying and curing time. Let's talk about how a professional assesses damage. When I approach a wall repair, I'm looking at 5 key factors. The depth of the damage, the condition of the surrounding drywall, the wall's texture and paint finish, any underlying issues like moisture or structural problems, the location of studs and utilities. Now for the tools and materials you'll need. I'm going to share my exact setup, the brands I trust, and why each tool matters. Essential tools. A 6-inch and 12-inch taping knife. I prefer Marshalltown's stainless steel line. A utility knife with extra blades. Milwaukee's retractable knife has served me well. A sanding sponge and 150 grit sandpaper. A drywall saw for larger repairs. A good quality dust mask. 3M's N95 with valve is my go-to. Materials. Setting type joint compound. I use USG Durabond 90. Pre-mixed all-purpose joint compound, USG all-purpose. Self-adhesive mesh tape. Drywall screws. Backing material for larger repairs. Now that we understand the types of damage, let's dive into the techniques that will make your repairs truly professional. Small repairs might seem simple, but they're where most DIY creators develop bad habits that come back to haunt them on bigger projects. Let's start with the foundation of all good repairs. Let me show you something interesting about nail holes. Notice how the paper around this hole is slightly raised? This is what we call paper lift, and it's why many patches end up showing through paint. Here's the professional approach. First, Take your utility knife and gently press around the hole's edge. You'll feel a slight give. That's the damaged paper. We want to remove this without creating a bigger problem. Make a very shallow cut, just through the paper layer, about 1/8 of an inch around the hole. Now, slightly dimple the surface with your taping knife. This creates a shallow depression that allows us to build up our compound without creating a bump. This small step, one that most people skip, is what makes professional repairs invisible. Let's talk about mixing compound. I'm going to share something that took me years to perfect, the ideal mixing ratio for setting type compound. Pour your powder into the bucket first, then add water slowly. The perfect mix should feel like soft serve ice cream, not pancake batter. Here's my ratio secret. For a standard 1-pound mix, start with 1/2 cup of clean, room temperature water. Add your powder gradually while mixing until it reaches this consistency. See how it holds its peak when I pull the knife out? That's what you're looking for. Now for the technique that changed my entire approach to drywall repair, the double feather method. First application. Apply your compound in a circular motion, extending about 4 inches from the repair center. Now, here's the key most people miss. Let this first coat dry completely. Don't rush this step. Second application. Once dry, apply your second coat at a 45-degree angle to the first, extending 2 inches beyond the first coat. Demonstrate. This creates what we call a crosshatch pattern that helps blend the repair invisibly into the surrounding wall. Sanding is where good repairs become great repairs. Forget everything you know about sanding drywall. We're going to use 3 different grits in a specific sequence. Start with 150 grit on a sanding sponge, but here's the professional secret. Use light pressure and sand in a circular motion. Feel the surface frequently with your other hand. You're looking for smooth transitions, not a perfectly flat surface. Now for the part that truly makes repairs invisible. Texture matching. Every wall has a texture, even if it looks smooth. Here's how to match any texture perfectly. First, take a bright light and hold it at an angle to your wall. See those subtle patterns? That's your wall's texture fingerprint. To match it, we'll use a technique called stippling. Mix your final coat of compound slightly thinner than normal. Using a 4-inch knife, apply a very thin coat extending beyond your repair. While it's still wet, take a roller with a matching nap to your walls and lightly roll over the area. Demonstrate rolling technique. The key is to match the pressure of the original wall texture. For knockdown textures, I use this special technique. Remember, throughout this section, we're building foundational skills that will be crucial for the more complex repairs we'll cover later. These techniques might seem meticulous, but they're what separate professional results from amateur attempts. Now we're moving into professional territory. These are the repairs that separate the experts from the DIYers. What I'm about to show you took me years to master, but you'll learn it in the next 20 minutes. Look at this 12-inch hole in the wall. Most people panic when they see damage this size. But I'm going to show you why this can actually be easier to repair than smaller holes, if you know the right approach. First, we need to make this irregular hole into a clean rectangle. Always cut back to solid drywall. Here's a pro tip. Hold your utility knife at a 45-degree angle cutting inward. This creates a slight bevel that makes your patch stronger and easier to finish. Now, measure your opening and add 2 inches in each direction for your replacement piece. Why? Because we want our seams to land in the middle of our backing supports, not at the edges. Here's where most DIY repairs fail. Improper backing. I'm going to show you my foolproof backing method that never fails. Take 2 pieces of 2x4, each about 4 inches longer than your hole. Insert them through the hole and position them so they span the opening, one at the top, one at the bottom. Now, here's the crucial part. Secure them with drywall screws about 1 inch from the hole's edge. Professional secret. Before securing the backing, hold it tight against the back of the existing wall using this simple tool I made. This ensures your patch will be perfectly flush with the existing wall. Now for the artistry of drywall repair. The compound application. We're going to use 3 distinct layers, each with its own purpose. Layer 1. Mix your setting type compound slightly thicker than normal. Apply your mesh tape first, then cover with compound, extending 4 inches beyond the patch edges. Here's a technique I learned from an old-timer. Use your knife at a 15-degree angle, not flat. This prevents air bubbles under your tape. After this dries, and I mean completely dry, not just surface dry, we apply layer 2. This coat goes on perpendicular to the first, extending 2 inches beyond. Watch how I feather the edges with decreasing pressure. Layer 3 is where the magic happens. Mix your compound slightly looser than before. We're going to apply this in what I call the butterfly pattern. Here's a technique that took me a decade to perfect. Different textures require different tools, but the principle remains the same. You're recreating a pattern, not just covering a repair. For heavy orange peel, I use this specialized hopper gun, but here's a money-saving tip. For smaller repairs, you can achieve similar results using this modified spray bottle technique I developed. Corner damage is tricky because you're working with 2 planes. Show damaged corner. First, remove any loose material and assess if the metal or plastic bead needs replacement. Here's how to tell. If you can flex the bead at all, replace it. When installing new corner bead, here's a pro secret. Use compound under the bead, not just over it. This prevents hollow spots that can crack later. Let me show you my texture sample board. I've developed specific techniques for each common texture. For knockdown texture, I use this special slap brush technique. For smooth walls, it's all about the crosshatch sanding method. For stipple texture, I modified this common tool to create perfect matches. Now for the advanced knowledge that will help you handle any situation. These are the techniques that separate good repairs from great ones, especially in challenging conditions. Let me show you something crucial about bathroom repairs. See these dark spots near the shower? This isn't just surface damage. Moisture has likely penetrated deeper than you think. Here's my 3-step moisture prevention technique. First, always use moisture-resistant drywall for your patches and bathrooms. But here's a pro secret. Even with moisture-resistant drywall, you need to seal the edges. Take this waterproof caulk and apply a thin bead around the entire patch before mudding. Second, mix your compound with this special additive. It's a mold-resistant formula that costs a bit more but saves you from callbacks. Mix it at a ratio of 1 capful per pound of compound. Third, and this is crucial, after your final coat is fully dry, apply a moisture-blocking primer before painting. Don't skip this step, even if the wall looks perfect. Here's a common situation that trips up many professionals. When you're patching walls with multiple layers of paint, especially glossy finishes, standard techniques often fail. Here's my solution. Take 100 grit sandpaper and lightly scuff an area slightly larger than your planned repair. Then, wipe it with a slightly damp microfiber cloth. Not paper towels, they can leave lint behind. Pro tip. If you're dealing with oil-based paint, use this special bonding primer first. It costs more, but it prevents your patch from developing that telltale sheen difference. Let me share something that saved me countless callbacks. Your compound won't set properly if the room is too cold or too humid. Here's my rule of thumb. For setting type compound, ideal temperature, 55 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Humidity, below 70%. When conditions aren't ideal, use these adjustment techniques. In cold rooms, mix your compound with warm water. In high humidity, use setting type compound instead of pre-mixed. Use a fan for air circulation, but never point it directly at your repair. Now let me show you how to work smarter, not harder. First, my hot mud sandwich technique. Use quick setting compound for your first coat, regular joint compound for the second, and quick setting for the final coat. This cuts your working time in half, without compromising quality. Second, use this modified California patch method I developed. It eliminates the need for backing on medium-sized holes and provides a stronger repair. Let's tackle the most frequent issues I see. Bubbling tape? That means your compound was too thick or you trapped air. Here's how to fix it without starting over. Shrinkage cracks? They occur when your coats are too thick. The solution isn't what you might think. Instead of filling them, do this. Edge showing through paint? This means your feathering wasn't wide enough. Here's my foolproof fix. Remember, these advanced techniques might seem like overkill, but they're what separate a repair that lasts a year from one that lasts a decade. Before we wrap up this comprehensive guide, let's quickly review what makes a truly professional drywall repair. Let's recap the game-changing techniques we've covered. Remember our assessment strategy. Every great repair starts with proper evaluation, just like we saw with that large bedroom hole. Taking those extra 2 minutes to assess saved us hours of rework. The 3 non-negotiable steps that separate pro work from amateur attempts. Proper surface preparation, especially that crucial paper removal technique. The double feather compound application method. Our specialized texture matching approach using the crosshatch pattern. Look at these results. This repair we did earlier. You can't tell where the damage was, even under this harsh lighting. That's the level of quality you can achieve by following these methods. Let me share one final professional secret that will save you countless hours. Always keep your tools clean and organize them in order of use. This simple habit has saved me hours on every job and ensures consistent results. Whether you're dealing with simple nail holes, large patches, corner bead repairs, or even those tricky bathroom renovations, you now have the knowledge to handle them all like a true professional. For those of you taking on your first major repair project, remember, patience is your best tool. Don't rush between coats and always let each layer dry completely. It's better to wait an extra hour than to redo the entire repair. If you're about to start your first repair project, I recommend beginning with a small area to practice these techniques. Take a photo before you start, document your process, and compare your results. You'll be amazed at how quickly you progress. For more detailed guides on specific repairs, including my complete video series on advanced texturing techniques, make sure to subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell. Drop a comment below with your most challenging drywall repair situation. I personally read every comment and try to help with specific advice. Remember, the difference between a good repair and a great one isn't the tools or materials. It's the knowledge and patience you bring to the job. Now get out there and make those walls perfect.